Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I'm having computer problems right now, so I can't do a full video on this, but I really wanted to show you something that I found that you haven't heard of, definitely have not heard of. Um, I know you've heard about the Palmyra Ark that is being set up in New York City, and I'm sure you've already figured out that it's being set up on the seventh day of Passover. But what most people don't know, and in fact, I don't think anybody knows this, it's actually being set up on our 40-day watch. Okay, so I have to go back to 2014 with this, and you might remember this. In 2014, we were watching a certain date. It was on June 14th, and basically it was based on this chart right here. Let me just go to this real quick. Here it is. Um, this series of events was happening. So you might remember in 2001 on the Feast of Trumpets, that was the Monday after 9/11, and that was the day that the stock market crashed. That Monday, right after September 11th, was the Feast of Trumpets, okay? That was also the sabbatical year. You probably know this, but I just have to give a background. That was also the sabbatical year. Sabbatical years occur every 7 years. Okay, so the next sabbatical year on the Jewish calendar occurred in 2008. Well, on that very day, on the Feast of Trumpets, that sabbatical year, the stock market crashed again, and it crashed exactly 777 points. Okay, we all know that. The reason this was important was because there was a 777 in the story of Noah. So in the story of Noah, it says Noah was 600 years old when the flood came, okay? And Lamech, his father, died at age 777, and that was when Noah was 595 years old. So obviously, the 777 in the story, in the story, Noah's father was 777 years old, 5 years before the flood, okay? So, the reason this matters is the flood that hit New York City on October 29th, 2012. It was Hurricane Sandy, and it was the worst flood in New York City history. That's what it went down as. And that was the date, that was the actual date we were watching based on something totally different. I'm not even going to go into that now. You can go look at that somewhere else. It had to do with that fall series of dream fulfillments that were happening in 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014. It stopped, though, after about 4 years. It stopped. Well, on that very date that we were watching, October 29th, that was the exact same date of the fulfillment before that. And that just happens to be on the Noah timeline because of this. And the reason is, just really quick, because in the story, Noah's 595, and when his father was 777. 5 years later, the flood came. Actually, it says when Noah was 600, the flood came. So because of how they calculated the years back then, sometimes they would say they could have, it could have been one of two things, okay? They could have either been, that's why we have both 4 years and 5 years, because when they said that Noah was 600 years old, that could have meant he was at the start of his 600th year. Or it could have meant that he had completed a full 600 years and was at the start of his 700th year. So what happened was this flood that hit New York City, it occurred at the start of the fifth year from this, okay? So you have 2008, the 777 point drop on the Feast of Trumpets, on the sabbatical year. Okay, right after this stock market crash that was on the sabbatical year before that, okay? So for the sabbatical here, 7 years later, another sabbatical, another stock market crash on the Feast of Trumpets. Okay, so in the story of Noah, Lamech was 777 in the same year that Noah was 595. Okay, so 5 years later, either at the beginning of the fifth year or at the end of the fifth year, there's a flood in the story. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, so the flood hit New York City. The reason this is important is because New York City is our huge watch. We've been talking about this for what, 4 or 5 years now. Not 5 years. I guess it's been about maybe four years now. We've been talking about New York City, New York City, because of the fulfillments of Daniel. It's pointing to New York City. Okay, so what we did is we also looked at. So this flood occurred at the start of what would have been the 600th year. Okay, but it was the start of the fifth year after the 777, so it was right on schedule in the story. But this also pointed to this date right here, June 11th through the 13th. That would have been the conception period prior. uh, um, so in the story, Noah was 595 right here, okay, at the 777. And um, I'm sorry, I know this is a lot, but I have to go over this, okay? So he was 590, he would have been 595 right here, according to the story. Um, the start of his 600th year would have been right here when this flood occurred. Um, but there's another possibility, and that is if this right here, his age, refers to his conception. So, for example, um, if they had considered the actual conception in the womb, then Noah would have been at the start of his 600th year right here. But then when you add the conception, the pregnancy, then it would have pushed it back 280 days, which is the length of a present pregnancy, right? So this would go from the feast, so it goes from the Feast of Trumpets here to the Feast of Trumpets here. And so the next Feast of Trumpets would have been right here. And then 280 days before that was June 11th through the 13th. So that was a huge watch, June 11th through the 13th, 2014. And here's what happened. That landed on, so you can see that right here, it says exact end of Noah's timeline starting at 777 in 2008. That coincided with the date on the true biblical calendar of the start of Noah's reign. So it was like this convergence right there on June 13th, 2014, because it was the end of that timeline that was playing out, and it was the true date that Noah's reign started. And so for the true calendar and all of that and how it works, you can go watch that. It's in the playlist, Bible's Countdown to the Asteroid, or Bible's Countdown to the Meteor. That video's in there. It's called the True Calendar or something like that. But anyway, this was the true date of the start of Noah's reign. It was a 40-day period. So we were watching this period from June 11th to June 15th. And what ended up happening was the Camp Spiker massacre. That was the start of the Islamic State war, the war against the Islamic State, because that was a major event, that was a major massacre that they did that enraged the world. That is really what started the Islamic State war. It went into high gear at that point, okay? It might have been going on before that a little bit, but that was what kicked it into high gear. Here's the thing. This date right here started a series of 40-day periods that have been going on for almost 2 years now. And I lost track of them last fall because it was going on and on and on. And I don't know, I lost track of it and I stopped calculating it. But now I'm looking at it again and I realize this Temple of Baal that's being set up in New York City in a couple of weeks is happening on the 40-day schedule. Okay, so here it is. Um, the date of Noah's reign on the true biblical calendar is right here. Now, the reason it's 3 days, because you'll see this royal blue right here. This royal blue color represents the true biblical appointed times, okay, on the true calendar. And just as a side note, the standard Jewish calendar, they are observing the true calendar now in 2016. So they have aligned with what the true calendar is, but they were not following it in 2014. Um, but it was still in effect, even though they weren't following it, because they're not doing it the way the Bible says to do it. They're not calculating it every year according to the sun and the moon. They just have their own methods. So they were off in 2014, but the true calendar was correct, okay? So this Camp Spiker massacre occurred on the start of Noah's 40 days of reign in 2014 on the true calendar. 40 days after that landed right here, and you can calculate this yourself on your own calendar. It happened right here. Now, the reason, really quick, I'm sorry, let me go back. The reason this is 3 days is because the, all right, the true second month right here, see in royal blue, it says the true second month on the true biblical calendar started on either the new moon or the first crescent that year in May of 2014. So because we don't know whether it's supposed to start on the new moon or the first crescent the next day, that gives us a 3 day window because the biblical days start in the evening. Okay, so the biblical day could have started either on the evening of the 28th, right here, the evening of the new moon, and that day, that first day of the month, would have lasted from the evening of the new moon until the next day, the evening of the next day. So the evening of the 28th until the evening of the 29th. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that the first day starts on the evening of the first crescent. So it would have gone from the evening of the 29th until the evening of the 30th. That gives us a 3 day window for each biblical day. And that is every biblical day on the calendar is a 3 day window because we do not know whether the day is supposed to start on the new moon or the first crescent, okay? So that's why it's always a 3 day window. Every single day on the biblical calendar is a 3 day window because of that. Because you have the new moon and the first crescent, and we don't know which day specifically is supposed to start on it. So it's always a 3 day window. That's why when you look at the start of Noah's reign, right here, it's also a 3 day window, okay? So it's 3 days. So the end of Noah's reign also is a 3 day window right here. So every single biblical date is a 3 day window. Okay, that's why we have a 3 day window. Okay, now on at the end of the 40 days of rain, or the representation of the 40 days of rain on the true biblical calendar, at the end of that, right here on this 3 day window, the Islamic State destroyed the tomb of Jonah. Well, in the story of Jonah, and I mean, you can go check all of this on Google. Like I said, I can't do it this time because I'm having computer problems. But in the story of Jonah, um, it says that uh, Jonah was told to go to Nineveh and warn Nineveh that it was going to be destroyed. And instead, he ran away and he was swallowed by a fish in the sea, and he was in the belly of the fish 3 days. Okay, so, and then right after that, um, he prayed, and God let him out of the fish after 3 days. And then, God told him again, go. I mean, it's just a story, but just bear with me for a second, okay? God again told him to go, and say to Nineveh, yet 40 days, and Nineveh will be overthrown, okay? All right, so the important thing to understand here is that there are also 40 days in the story of Jonah, okay? Are you following me here? So first we had the 40 days of rain in the story of Noah, and we had the true biblical date on the calendar that we observe every year. We look at it, we say this was the date that God said the rain would start. It was an exact date on the biblical calendar. We saw that. We calculated the 40 days. It ended right here. Islamic State destroyed the tomb of Jonah on that very date at the end of the 40 days of rain. The tomb of Jonah represents the story of Jonah, and in the story of Jonah, there's also a 40-day period. But, and this is what confused me originally, there's also a 3-day period before the 40 days in the story of Jonah. So you don't just count 40 days after. And this is what I did originally. I counted 40 days after they destroyed the tomb right here. That's not what it says in the story. In the story, it says there were 3 days, then 40 days. Now watch this, because this blew my mind. 3 days after they destroyed the tomb would land right here on the new moon of July 26, 2014. Okay, so you count. So there's 3. So they destroyed the tomb here. 1, 2, 3. Now watch this. 40 days after this third day lands right here. Oh man, this is so weird, you guys. I'm telling you, this is a schedule. They are doing this on purpose. Somebody, I'm not sure who it is. Somebody at the top, the very top, is doing this on a schedule. So what happened at the end of the 40 days of Jonah? Kim Jong went into seclusion, and remember, he was in seclusion for exactly 40 days, and everybody was talking about it. The media was talking about it, and they were saying, oh, he was missing for exactly 40 days. Well, he went into seclusion right here at the end of the 40 days in the story of Jonah, and he came out of seclusion right here at the end of the 40 days. He came out of seclusion. Okay, so we had first, so you can see, I know there's a lot of stuff on here. Try not to be confused by this. This is just, notice it's the dark orange color. I put all of these in dark orange. Okay, so let me just go back. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here, because this is crazy. Okay, so it starts right here at the end of this timeline that we were watching. All right, Noah's true and date right here of the start of Noah's 40 days of rain. It's in royal blue because it was a biblical date on the biblical calendar. 40 days of rain would have ended right here. It's in royal blue because it's a biblical date on the calendar. But here's where it changes. We find out Jonah's tomb was destroyed on that 40th day. At this point, it becomes a watch. Now we're saying, okay, now we're going to watch 40 days. There's also 40 days in the story of Noah, but before that 40 days in the story of Jonah, there's a 3-day period. Okay, so in the story of Jonah, there's 3 days followed by 40 days. So we have 3 days here followed by 40 days, and that's the date Kim Jong, the dictator of North Korea, or I'm not sure what word they use, the ruler of North Korea. I'm not sure if he's a king. I don't know what it is, but anyway, that's his name's Kim Jong. He went into seclusion on that exact 40th day. Okay, after the Islamic State destroyed Jonah's tomb, exactly 40 days, right according to what the Bible says, he went into seclusion. And now we're going to put each one of these 40-day watches I've put in dark orange. Okay, so you can see it clearly. So we had a 40-day watch right here. And remember, it's a 3-day window because of the biblical appointed times, the biblical appointed dates. We're not sure if it starts on the new moon or the first crescent, so it's always a 3-day window. So that's why this 40-day watch is a 3-day window, because it started with a biblical date. So Kim Jong goes into seclusion right here, exactly 40 days after from the story of Jonah. Okay, 40 days from the story of Jonah. So that means 3 days plus 40 days, because that's how it is in the story. Okay, he's in seclusion, he's missing for exactly 40 days, and he comes out right here. Okay, so we have our 40-day watch right here. He reappeared right here, which was exactly on the seventh day of Sukkot in 2014. Now we're going to count 40 days again, because at that point it established there's something going on here. There's this 40-day series happening here. So we watch 40 days after that. Okay, and what happened 40 days after that? Here's our watch right here in dark orange. 40-day watch, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Well, what happened on November 24th? That was when Sony Pictures hacked. I'm sorry, that was when Sony Pictures was hacked by, allegedly, by North Korea. According to the United States government, they said North Korea had hacked Sony. Okay, now, so that's how this all ties in North Korea, because remember, Kim Jong was gone for 40 days, right on that same pattern of that series of events that it seems like the Islamic State were doing. So at this point, it became Islamic State watch, also North Korea watch at this point, which is what I was thinking. This has, it's connected somehow. Okay, so on that date, listen to this. Not only did North Korea hack into Sony Pictures on that exact 40-day watch, 40 days after he was in seclusion, 40 days, then he came back, and 40 days after he came back, this happened. North Korea hacked Sony Pictures. It's on a schedule, okay? Not only that, you guys, it's connected to the Ferguson event. Now, you can go watch some of my other videos and some other people. That Ferguson event, there is something really weird going on with that, because that kid that was supposedly murdered, Michael Brown, the pictures they were using actually came from someone else who died named Michael Brown, who lived in Sacramento, California. I have a video on this. I don't know what it is, but so many people could not understand what I was trying to say in that video. I don't know what's wrong with their. Anyway, the point is that there's something, that Michael Brown shooting thing there. I'm not sure it was real. Okay, and I'm not trying to discount any. I'm just saying that they were using pictures from another kid who died in Sacramento, California, a Michael Brown who died in Sacramento, California. Now, here's the other thing. The Michael Brown that died in Sacramento, his funeral was held on August 9th, okay? In fact, I think I have it in here. I don't have time, you guys, I don't have time to go through like all the pictures and everything, um, the websites, but I do have other videos on it, and I will try to link those videos below, okay? That those videos do have the proof. So hold on one second. So the date, I'm sorry, let's go back. August 9th, okay? This is important, you guys. August 9th was the date of this, August 9th, 2014 was the date of the supposed Michael Brown shooting, right? Well, that was the very day that the real Michael Brown's funeral was held. So, okay, I'm sorry. Look, I'm not trying to discount anything, because I don't really know. I don't really know what happened. I don't know whether there really a Michael Brown shot in Ferguson on August 9th. I don't know that, so I'm not going to jump to any conclusions here. But what I'm telling you is that these coincidences are, there's something weird going on here, okay? And I'm not sure what exactly. I only know a little bit about it, okay? But here's the thing: Michael Brown, they were using pictures of this kid right here, trying to say this kid right here, Michael Brown. The pictures that they used of him were actually of a kid that died in Sacramento, California. And the kid that died in Sacramento, California, his funeral was held on August 9th, 2014. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's something weird going on. And I mean, there's way more to it than even that, okay? And there are other people that talk about that on YouTube, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But the point for this is that there's this 40-day pattern that ended right on that date that they announced the Ferguson verdict. That's what this is right here. November 24th, 2014, they announced the Ferguson verdict, and that was a huge event, and they announced it at exactly 8:15. Okay, this is how it ties into Asia. 8:15 was the exact time that the bomb was dropped on Japan. Okay, and we were coming up to the 70th anniversary of that. The 70th anniversary of that was in 2015. um but that's why I'm saying they hacked Sony Pictures on the same day the Ferguson verdict was read at exactly 8:15. And again, there was a lot of weird things with that Ferguson thing. It almost seemed like, I don't know, almost like maybe it was really a fake story. I don't know that for sure. I'm just saying, look, there was something weird going on there. Maybe somebody was trying to make it look like it was fake, okay? I don't know. But there was a Michael Brown that died in Sacramento, California, and his funeral was held on the date they said the Ferguson shooting happened. And they were using pictures of that kid to try to make it look like that. And the kid that died, his name was Michael Brown, and they were using his pictures to try to make it look like he was the kid that was shot in Ferguson. It's weird. I don't know. Okay, I'm not trying to say I know, but let's move on. So that occurred. That verdict was read at exactly 8:15 on the exact 40th day. Okay, so let's move on. So 40 days after that, we came to January 1st through the 3rd. Here's our 40-day watch right here in dark orange. And on that day, Kim Jong, I think I spelled his name wrong right here, sorry, gave a speech saying that he was prepared to go to war. And I don't know if it had any, I don't know if he was talking about nuclear weapons or anything there, but he said he was prepared to go to war if something happened. That was on the 40-day watch. Okay, he gave that speech on the 40-day watch. If anybody, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was basically saying that he's ready to go to war. The very next day, the U.S. sanctioned him, North Korea, for the reason they sanctioned North Korea right here on the 40-day watch was because of the Sony hack. So remember, the Sony hack occurred on the 40-day watch, and then exactly 40 days later, he gives a speech saying he's ready to go to war, and the U.S. sanctioned him for the Sony hack. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so I mean that's bizarre. 40 days later, I mean this seems like it's on a schedule, okay? 40 days later, the U.S. held exercises in South Korea. Um, Obama issued a war request against ISIS, so he issued a request to go to war with ISIS, but there was something very, very important about that request. Um, in that war request, he requested that the war against ISIS be held anywhere, and that includes the United States. So this war on the Islamic State is also occurring right now in the United States. Okay, so we are at war, and they are considering the United States enemy territory, potential enemy territory. Okay, so that's really important right there, that war request. And again, that occurred exactly 40 days after the other one. Okay. There was a Muslim shooting, or I'm sorry, an Islamic State shooting apparently, or I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember what this was. There was a shooting in North Carolina. Actually, I think it was a shooting of a Muslim temple. Maybe that's what it was. Anyway, that also occurred on that 3-day, 40-day watch right there. Okay, the next event was the next 40 days occurred on March 22nd through the 24th in 2015. We're in 2015 right now, okay? And that was the date that the Islamic State issued their hit list. They issued this hit list of who they were going to go after. They issued that exactly for on the 40-day watch. Um, and then the next 40-day watch occurred right here. You can see right here, it's in dark orange. It was May 1st through the 3rd, 2015, and that landed on the true date of Passover. It actually landed on the exact 3-day window of Passover last year in 2015. And on that watch right here, the Texas attack occurred. So the Islamic State attacked Texas. You might remember that last year. That occurred exactly on the 40-day watch. Okay. So then we go another 40 days, and we landed on June 10th through the 12th. And on the 12th, the Al Qaeda leader was killed. Um, and also China hacked. There was a hack on the United States federal government. China hacked into the United States federal government database, and I don't remember the specifics of that right now, but I had that listed in here. That occurred on the 40-day watch. Okay. Um, and also on that date, the Tamir Rice murder charge was, um, something happened with that also on that day. So I think these things might, they're all connected, is what I'm telling you. It's all connected. So that occurred on the 40-day watch. The next 40-day watch occurred on July 20th through the 22nd. And on that date, um, the Cuba U.S. embassies opened. Okay, so this is important because Cuba was a communist country, or is a communist country, and so now we've opened our embassies with them. So this is important because, and look, like, I'm not trying to hate on them, or I'm not, nothing like that. What I'm saying is there's something going on with these communist countries. There's something going on with the communist agenda, and this is the schedule right here. There's something going on here, um, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm not jumping to any conclusions. I'm just saying, look, that those embassies opened right on this 40-day watch, and this 40-day watch has to do with China and Japan, again, China and North Korea, which are both communist countries. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. I'm not jumping to any conclusions. The Pope climate meeting. Here's the other thing. This is the reason why the Pope climate meeting is important, because um, the and this is something else that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I just haven't had a chance to do it. I'm like, there's a lot of things going on in my life right now. But the climate issue, the whole global warming thing, is, there's so much to it, but one of the things they're doing with the climate issue is, you all know the Pope is the second beast in Revelation 13, okay? And the seventh head of the beast is the United Nations, which it's actually the healed seventh head of the beast. So it's actually the eighth king. The United Nations is the eighth king, which is the healed seventh head of the beast. Okay, and the Pope is the Lamb who speaks like a dragon, the second beast in Revelation 13. Um, so what the UN is doing is they have this subsidiary, I guess, that they call the Club of Rome, and the United Nations does. And the Club of Rome is connected to the United Nations, and obviously it's connected to the Pope as well. So it's connected to both beasts, the Club of Rome. Well, the Club of Rome is what established the 10 horns of the beast, okay? So go look into that. I don't have time to go into it right now, but here's the thing. In that document that the Club of Rome released in 2009, where they identified the 10 horns of the beast, which they didn't call the 10 horns of the beast, but they just call them the 10 regions of the world. those 10 horns of the beast, or the 10 regions of the world, that was huge. That was important. A lot of people know about that. But the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that the other thing that the Club of Rome established in that document is they established humanity as the enemy. Okay? And that was based on what? The global warming, the pollution problem. So what they tried to do is they tried to say, oh, look, we have this climate crisis, so pollution is the problem. But instead of labeling pollution as the enemy, they labeled humanity as the enemy. Okay, so do you understand? In 2009, they actually the beast actually declared humanity as the enemy. Okay, this is really, really important, you guys. And so that climate meeting that occurred right on the 40-day watch, that's important because they are using the climate issue as an excuse to declare a war on humanity itself. Okay, that is extremely important. They declared that humanity is their enemy, not pollution, humanity. That's what they said. Okay, so this whole climate thing, I'm not at all telling you global warming doesn't exist. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, instead of declaring pollution the enemy, they declared humanity the enemy. So you better, so take a, I'm not saying, look, just take a closer look at that, okay? Because there, it's true, it's real. They are using that as an excuse to go to war with humanity, okay? And that occurred right on the 40-day watch. The other thing that occurred right on that 40-day watch was the Sandra Bland Memorial. So I don't know, I'm not sure, if that's connected. I don't know, but the Ferguson thing was connected, okay? Um, so I'm not saying for sure about that, but that Cuba thing, the climate crisis meeting, and the Sandra Bland Memorial all occurred exactly on the 40-day watch in July of 2015. The next 40 days ended on the 3-day window from August 29th to August 31st. The Temple of Baal, or Bel, was actually destroyed on that date. And I'm just going to show you really. This is an article right here that tells you when it was destroyed. No, I'm sorry, that's the tomb of Jonah. Okay. Islamic State militants have destroyed the ancient tower tombs of Palmyra. The imagery was received on Wednesday. They said this article was posted September 4th, 2015. It's USA Today. So they posted this article September 4th, 2015, saying that they had just received the imagery, but then they say right here that they destroyed the tomb on Sunday, okay? So they posted it on September 4th, 2015, and they said that the tomb was destroyed on Sunday. So that was right here, August 30th, okay? So they posted the article right here, September 4th. They said the tomb was destroyed August 30th. It's right on the 40-day watch. Are you kidding me? And this is a schedule, you guys. So the Islamic State destroyed the Temple of Baal. Well, what is the Temple of Baal? It's the Temple of Baal, Baal, and sometimes the Jews would pronounce it Baal. And here's the thing about the Temple of Baal, or Baal. This god was like the false god. It's all throughout the Old Testament. The temple, Baal. The Israelites, they went to worship Baal, and they rebelled. They rebelled against God, and they went to worship this false god. And when one of the false gods' name was Baal. Okay, so the Temple of Baal was destroyed on this 40-day watch right here. Okay, now watch this. This is crazy, you guys, because they're setting up the Temple of Baal, a replica of this one right here that was destroyed right here. They're going to set up a replica of that in New York City on another 40-day watch, which coincides with Passover this year. So check this out. That was on the 40-day watch right there in August 30th, 2015. The next 40-day watch was on October was the window of October 8th through the 10th, and that landed exactly on the start of Daniel's seventh year. Okay, which I'm just saying, I'm not saying for sure that's what it is, but that's what it looks like, right? I mean, if you've been watching my channel for a while, that's what it looks like. It is really convincing because we've had fulfillments of Daniel 9 up to the destruction of the city and the hallowed thing. That has not happened yet, but we know that the city in Daniel 9 refers to New York City. That's what it refers to now. Because the Jews, well, I don't even want to. New York City has the highest population of Jews, second only to Israel. Okay, that's one thing. But there's a whole lot of different things going on with that I don't want to get into. But the point is, in the book of Daniel, it says that that abomination of desolation will be set up 1290 days after the oath is taken, and that's an alternate translation, but that is exactly what the book of Daniel says. You got to look at the meanings of the words. Okay, so it says that oath will be taken, and it says 1290 days after the oath of the position, that the abomination of desolation will be set up. Well, that abomination of desolation can also be translated to idol of terror. So it's saying the idol of terror will be set up 1290 days after the oath of the position is taken. The oath of the position corresponded to the position of the presidency of the United States that Obama took. I'm sorry if you don't understand what I'm saying right now, but go watch that playlist, Bible's Countdown to the Meteorite, and then you'll understand what I'm saying. It's on my channel page. For some reason, the links in below my videos are not working right when it's linking to YouTube, or when it's linking to playlists. It's not working. So just go to my main channel page for that playlist. But and it'll explain everything. But that idol of terror was placed exactly 1290 days after that, right? So this right here, this date landing exactly on the 40-day watch, that is the exact date that starts this seemingly seventh year of Daniel's week, because that was the date that Obama won the Peace Prize in 2009. Now, here's why that is matters, because, and let me just get the chart really. I'm sorry, I know this is not an organized video at all, but I just had to get this out to you guys, even though I'm having computer problems right now. Okay, so so again, the 1290 days occurred right here from the oath. It says in Daniel 12, it's an alternate translation, from the oath, and in fact, I might have the alternate in here. I can't do it right now. Never mind. The from the time the oath is taken away, the oath of the position taken away, until the idol of terror is set up, there will be 1290 days. That's what happened. Okay, so the oath was the position of the presidency of the United States that Obama took exactly 62 Shabua after the commandment to restore Jerusalem. Okay, that's what Daniel 9 says. It says, once that commandment goes forth to restore Jerusalem, which was the UN declaration to partition Palestine. That's the dividing of the land right there. Okay, that was the dividing of the land. When the UN put forth a commandment to partition Palestine for the creation of their country. Okay, so has nothing to do with the Jews, the true Jews. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the UN. Okay, because the UN created that country of Israel. That country of Israel is the little horn. Please hear me right now. So 7 Shabua after that, Obama was born. So it says in there, the man called Messiah. It says there would be 7 Shabua and 62 Shabua. Yes, that referred to Jesus. But in the end time, it has to occur again in the end time. And remember, Jesus said, you did not accept me, but there is one that you will accept. Well, who was that? I'm telling you, there's a reason why they were calling Obama Messiah. The book of Daniel has to occur in the end time if you really understand the prophecy, because the 2300 days concern the daily, right? In Daniel 8, the 2300 days concern the daily. Well, the 2300 days cannot occur until the end time. Why? Because Daniel 8 tells you the daily in Daniel 8 has to be set up by who? The little horn. The little horn, okay? The little horn cannot rise up until the end time. Okay, so please go look at, I can't go into it right now. The point is, um, a lot of people are arguing about this. They don't want to accept it. It is I am totally convinced that this may really be the fulfillment of Daniel 9, okay? But that Shabua, here's the thing. It says in Daniel 9, 62 Shabua, 7 and 62 Shabua until Messiah. Okay, well, seven, the word Shabua means three different things. It can mean a singular seven, a multiple of seven, or a feast of Shavuot. A singular seven would be in mathematics. We know mathematics matters because this whole thing is mathematical. What Gabriel gave to Daniel, it's mathematics. Okay, so a singular seven, what does that correspond to in mathematics? It corresponds to plus seven. A multiple of seven corresponds to times seven. So what we had here, we have three definitions of the word Shabua. This right here in Daniel 9, it says 7 Shabua and 62 Shabua. There were 7 plus 7 until Obama was born. He is the man called Messiah, whether people like it or not. They were calling him Messiah everywhere, all over the whole world. They were calling him Messiah. There was 7 Shabua until he was born, and there were 62 Shabua until he became president. He is the man called Messiah. Okay, now from the time, okay, so it said, what it says in Daniel 9 is that after the 62 Shabua, and I'm sorry, I can't like do this right now. I'm trying to navigate. I can't. I just have to tell you the after the 62 Shabua, it says that Messiah will either be cut off or cut a covenant, because there's two different meanings of that word. He cut a covenant. He cut a covenant in 2009 after 62 Shabuot. Now, in this case, it refers to the Feast of Shavuot, which occurs in the summertime, the spring or the summer, okay? So after 62 Shavuots, after the summer of 2009, um, he won the Peace Prize. But here's the important point, okay? He won the Peace Prize because, and the committee, okay, the Peace Prize committee itself stated that he won the Peace Prize because he was he was promoting the UN World Treaty. It's called the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It is a worldwide treaty, and because of his promotion of that UN treaty, this is so important because remember, the UN is the healed seventh head of the beast. This is so important because he confirmed that he was confirming, or because he was promoting that nuclear treaty, that nuclear worldwide treaty that the UN set up. Because of that, he won the Peace Prize, and he won that Peace Prize on October 9th. So I'm sorry I had to go through all of that, but this is for, even if one of you, even if only one of you did not understand this and now you do, that's worth it for me. Okay, so for those of you that wish I wouldn't go over and rehash this stuff, I'm sorry, but you can just skip ahead in the video, okay? But that's why October 9th is important right here. And it occurred exactly on that 40-day watch, okay? It occurred right here on the 40-day watch, October 9th, which is what? The start of the 7th year from when he won the Peace Prize, which was the confirmation of the treaty. And that's what it says in Daniel. It says, after 62 Shabuah, he will confirm, he will cut a covenant. And then it says in the next verse, it says, and he will confirm that covenant or treaty for one Shabuah, and one Shabuah can mean 7 years. Okay, so one period of 7 years, and this is it right here. If the 7 years started October 9th, 2009, then the end of those 7 years would be October 9th, 2016. So we started the 7th year of this apparent week. I'm not saying it for sure is the week, but it sure looks like it is right now. Because this word can also mean plus 7, that means we also have a possibility of the week being right here. But October 9th, this in 2015, October 9th, 2015, right here was the start of the 7th year. Okay, and that also landed on the exact 40-day watch. Okay, so the next thing the next 40-day watch after that occurred right here on November 17th through the 19th, that 3-day window right there in November of 2015. On that 40-day watch, they had now this is important right here, because we all know that there are all these terror events happening all over the world right now, right? But here's what matters, because we know the terror attack had happened, I guess, right here. But here's what matters. Every time one of these terror attacks happens, they approve new legislation, or they go and they raid a bunch of people. What That's the real thing that's going on. Do you understand? Like, there's the excuse, and then there's the legislation. Which is more important? The legislation is more important, because if they're going to change the legislation and take away more of our freedoms, that's the reaction of the terror attack. And some of these terror attacks, I mean, you go look, they passed a law several years ago, and I can't remember when it was, but they passed a law in the United States that it was okay for the news agencies to present propaganda, which basically means that they can tell us lies. Okay, they can lie to us about what's going on. So the things that you're watching on the news, question it, because they passed that law just a couple years ago that says it's okay for the news agencies to make up false stories. Okay, so that's important. We need to question everything we see on the news. And so what I'm saying is, possibly the reason why this 40-day watch is landing not on the events themselves, but the result of the event instead, is maybe because the result is what's more important. So for example, you know, because of this terror attack that occurred in France, then France had an excuse to go bomb ISIS, right? I mean, I'm just saying. And also they had an excuse to go raid certain houses that they wanted to go raid. And I'm not saying this was fake, but there are a lot, because I don't really know, I wasn't there, but there are a lot of people bringing up some really important points about that terror attack, that some of it looked like it was fake. Like, for example, the one guy that was laying on the ground, and the guy came by and shot him. A couple of people slowed that down, and it was pretty clear that gunfire did not hit the guy. It didn't hit the man. And the news media was trying to say that it was. The news media was saying, "Oh, look, here's footage of this man being shot." But in actuality, in that footage that they showed, he wasn't shot. So that calls into question the whole thing. You see what I'm saying? If they're lying about one thing, it just, I don't know, for me, I'm just speaking for myself, yeah, it caused me to question the whole thing. I'm not saying, because I don't for sure, because I wasn't there, but that may be the reason that on the 40-day watch, it was what they actually did that was on the 40-day watch, as their reaction to the terror attack. So problem, reaction, solution. The problem was the attack. The reaction was do something. The solution was right here on the 40-day watch. You see what I'm saying? And that's happened a couple times. So that was the day they went and bombed the Islamic State. That was the day that they went and raided people because of this. And the very next day, Belgium also did some raids as well. So they did that because of this. And their actions landed on the 40-day watch. The other thing that happened on the 40-day watch was the United States House approved the acceptance of Syrian refugees. And I need to go check on that. I think that was what they approved. They approved something having to do with Syrian refugees on that day. And I think that was the one where they approved, accepting Syrian refugees. So, okay, so the next 40-day watch after that occurred right here on December 27th through the 29th. That was another one. That was more Belgium arrests having to do with the Paris attack again. So it happened again on their 40-day watch. They arrested more people because they said they were plotting a New Year's Eve attack. So again, there were more raids on this 40-day watch. This 40-day watch was also a deal that was made between Japan and South Korea, which, I mean, you could go watch videos on that and they talk about stuff that doesn't seem to really matter. But you know what? They're not telling us the whole story. Why would they tell us the whole story? They're not. So they made a deal there. Who knows what the deal was really about? Um, and again, Tamir Rice lands right on this 40-day watch. That was the day they decided there was not going to be an indictment about against the officer that shot Tamir Rice. That happened right here again on the 40-day watch. So remember, Tamir Rice was on the other 40-day watch. So there's something maybe going on there. Again, another data leak. So this was the day that they discovered that there was a voter data leak. So in the United States, somehow a list of all voters, registered voters in the United States, was open. The data leaked to the internet, and it was wide open for anybody to go get addresses and phone numbers of all registered voters in the United States. That was right here on the 40-day watch. That was also the day that the UN evacuated people from Syria. So and I'm sorry, but they're the ones that went in there they're the ones that caused the problem to begin with. We know that because we've been looking at the history having to do with that region right there. They've been taking over that region for the last 100 years. So that the whole reason those people are having a problem there is because of the UN. And now the UN goes and evacuates them and tries to act like they're the savior when really they're the problem. They are the problem. They were the problem to begin with. And never mind about the Islamic State people that it turned out to be UK citizens. We're not even going to go into that right now. They caused the problem. Now they're trying to act like the savior, and that happened right on the 40-day watch. Okay, the next 40-day watch after that occurred on February, on the 3-day window of February 5th through the 7th. And on that day, there was an emergency meeting between the United Nations, in the United Nations, having to do with North Korea. And that was held right there on the 40-day watch. That was also the Chinese New Year, and that was also, so Chinese year that started right here, and that was also the the 12th day watch that had to do with these vision fulfillments. Now, these vision fulfillments that have been happening just recently, these are visions and dreams that I posted 3.5 years ago. They're still on YouTube. Okay. And there's something going on here with this. It seems to have stopped now, but I mean, as you remember, there was, the Pacific Sky collision that was fulfilled right there. That was a dream I posted in 2012. Then this event right here was another dream that I posted in 2012. And then the football game was another one that I posted. They happened exactly 12 days apart. Then they started happening 23 days apart, these fulfillments. So right here, this fulfillment right here happened 23 days after the cowboy was shot. Both of these were dreams I posted to YouTube in 2012. They're still there. Okay. So this 40-day watch lined up with with the Super Bowl, which was the 12-day watch also, which was the third dream fulfillment this year in 2016. So there's something going on there with that Super Bowl thing, because in that dream it was the period after the Super Bowl that was significant, because we were moving away from the Super Bowl in that dream, and then after a long period of time, all these balls fell to the earth, which I thought might represent what the Bible's talking about, the meteorite that it says is going to happen in the midst of Daniel's week. I mean, it tells you right there, the city and the hallowed thing will be destroyed in the midst of the week. Well, we're in the final year. I mean, it looks like we are. It looks like we're in the final year of that right now in 2016. So that's why it's just, everything is just really, I need to end this right now because this is going on too long. But anyway, that 40-day watch landed right on that 12-day watch. By the way, the 23-day watch, really quick, I'm just going to go into that. We had that fulfillment right here, and then we had another fulfillment right here that was exact. But from what I can tell, I do not think there was another one because I did not find anything on this date. So it looks like the 23-day fulfillment pattern has ended. Um, but like I said, this 40-day pattern I just realized has continued all this time and I didn't see it. So who knows, maybe the 23-day thing is, maybe there's something still going on with that and I just don't see it yet. But the next 40-day watch that we're looking at right now, it was right here on on February 5th through the 7th, and then the next 40-day watch was right here on March 16th through the 18th. And again, another Belgium terrorist thing. I mean, what's going on with that? Like every 40 days, Belgium has a raid on somebody. I mean, that's weird, right? I don't know. I mean, I just, another Belgium terrorist was caught on that day. That was also the day that Trump's son received a threat letter. That was also, so think about that, because that might be another excuse to do something in the government if he becomes president. And then also, this 40-day watch was the end of the 1150 days that we were watching, which has to do with Daniel's 2300 evenings and mornings. But it wasn't significant, but it did line up though with that 40-day watch that's been going on for the past 2 years. So that was sort of interesting. The next 40-day watch after that lands right here on the seventh day of true Passover this year. So, true Passover, as you can see right here, we just started the first month today, literally. Yesterday was the new moon. Today is the first crescent. So we're literally on the first day of the first month on the true calendar today. So remember what it says in I can't remember the scripture right now, but it talks about the former and the latter rain, and it says that I will cause to come down for you the former and the latter rain, or something like that, in the first month, and it clearly identifies the first month. I don't know what that means. I mean, maybe it means something, but remember, the fire and brimstone, the meteorite in the Bible represents it's represented by the rain. The word rain is used to represent the rain of fire and brimstone, which is the meteorite. So that's a code word. Rain is always a code word. I don't know if that's what it meant here, but again, we are in the true first month right now. Ancient true Passover will occur in the window of the 20th through the 22nd. The standard Jewish calendar, like I said, they're finally in alignment with the true calendar this year. However, they apparently have their own method of determining when the new moon happens, or maybe it has something to do with the fact that I think they're like a day off from us. I'm not really sure, but their standard Passover occurs right here. So they're finally in 2016 in alignment with the true calendar. But again, as I've said before, in 2015, 2014, and 2013, and 2012, and who knows how long, they've been out of alignment with it. So finally in 2016, they're in alignment with it, which is just confirmation again that this is the true calendar. But you're supposed to calculate it every year, not just every 19 years or whatever it is that they do. Point is, um, on the seventh day of Passover, coming up um, in a couple of weeks, um, that is the next 40-day watch. So again, we just had one right here in March. Um, and the next 40-day watch will be on the seventh day of Passover, the window of the seventh day of Passover. And also on the seventh day of Passover this year, the Temple of Baal will be set up in New York City, and that's for World Heritage Week. So again, I mean, a lot of Christians are talking about this because Baal is the false god in the Bible. I mean, it's everywhere throughout the Bible. The false god that the Israelites went to worship. That temple will be set up in New York City on the seventh day of Passover this year. Um, And again, that is also the next 40-day watch. So I'm not I you know what, I am not trying to say that I know that something's going to happen during that time. I'm just saying this is huge. It's just a huge event, and it does seem like a warning. And this 40-day pattern that's been going on for almost 2 years now. It started in the summer of 2014 and we're in the spring of 2016. I mean, almost 2 years that this 40-day pattern has been continuing. Nobody knows about it. It seems like they're doing these things on a schedule. It seems like a warning. And please watch. I created a playlist called Warnings for New York City, and you can go watch that if you want to. I'll try to leave a link to it, although my playlist links right now are not working. You know what I'll do? I'll try to leave a link for it right here in the video, and hopefully that'll work. If not, you can just go to my main channel page and look for the playlist, Warnings for New York. Um, but there have been a lot of warnings about New York. So I mean, this is just, it's huge. It's huge what's going on right now. So I'm going to let you go. I'm sorry I had to go on and on and on. Again, I couldn't do like the regular video this week because I've been having computer problems and I'm going to have to get that resolved. But I just wanted to let you guys know where we are right now and what's going on, and this is something nobody else seems to know. So we just entered the first month. First month is a really important time on the biblical calendar. Passover is going to happen right here on this window, and again, that's exactly 70 years from that first recommendation by the UN to create the country of Israel. So that's really important. That's happening right on true Passover this year. And on the seventh day of Passover, they're going to set up the Temple of Baal in New York City. So I just have to wonder about that. So anyway, I will let you go. I hope you're all doing well, and I will talk to you hopefully next week. Okay, bye bye.